And so this is part 3 of setting up for your midterm exam about stacked walls. And what we want to do now is called a legend. So we have legends in our browser. We're going to say new legend, and we can accept that scale for now. And so in a legend, what it does is it explains the components inside of your project in a graphic display. So if I want to insert a legend component, you can see over here we have all of the options that can be graphically displayed. And in your template, there's a lot of objects, but we're talking about walls. And remember, we made walls, so we just say wall A. I like to show it in a section view, so we'll do that. It's fine resolution is how we want it. So now we have A component. Remember, you made these. Now you might have called them differently. We'll do B. And we'll continue, but I want to move into a sheet that has this legend on it because I don't want my legend to be larger than a sheet. So we don't have a sheet for legends. So we'll just take general notes. We'll duplicate sheet. We don't need detailing. So there's a new sheet. Instead of being general notes, we'll call it legend. Okay. And we'll go back up to our legend, which we just made. Legend 2. Electrical legend and legend 1 are already on our sheets in our template, but you can see that this box is not filled in with blue. So that means it's not on the sheet yet, and that's the one we're working on. So let's just put that here. Take a look at it. Let's move it over maybe to there. Now, we're going to continue to work on this legend, but we want to work on it in the sheet so we don't put too much information that doesn't fit. Okay, so we have 2. Right click, activate the view. Now we're actually working in that legend again. So we'll go back to legend component, and we got A and B. Let's find C and put that in. These are, and then D. And then we can put in E. And I think you're pretty clear on where we're going with this. And then legend F. I wasn't sure if I got F, so I'm going to hover over it, and it does say legend F. Okay. You can see there's no more fitting, so in the sheet, so we'll come and put some more over here. We want to put a legend component, and we did F, so now we'll do G. We'll put G over here. Now we'll do H. We'll put H over here. We'll do I over here. And then I think we have a J. Okay, and J. Now let's start out by labeling these. Well, what is the name of this one? We can go over here and it says A. So I just highlighted that, and on the keyboard I did Control C, which copies that. And now I'm going to go over here and tell Revit I want to put some text in. Control V. Let's click on this wall. What's it called? Control C for copy. We'll put some text in here, and we'll call it Control V. And whatever that wall is named is we're going to call it whatever we've labeled it already. We've already given it a name. Control C, and we're going to say we want some text, Control V, and we'll continue with that. So we simply highlight it, Control C for copy, and then we say to Revit that we want to put some more text in. And we start right there, Control V. Uh-oh. All right, so what happened? It's too skinny. So we just make it a little bit wider. Okay. Now, what's this one? Control C. We want to put text in here. Control V. Copy, paste. What's this one? Control C for copy. Tell Revit we want to put some text in there. Control V. So labeling these wall types will make them look more organized maybe a little bit later, but this is the beginning of our midterm. So let's go back to annotate, component. No, we already did that. We want to do this. We want to, what is this one? This is G, Control C, click on the text. Let's put that right there, Control V. All right, what about this guy? What's this one? H, Control C, back to the text. Let's click on this one to activate it. Control V. We got to click on this wall, which is I, Control C, click on the text button here. We're going to put that in, Control V. And the last one is Control C. Tell Revit we want to put some text in there. And then Control V. So now we've labeled our walls and we've put them in. But remember that you haven't changed any of these yet. This is simply for setting up for your midterm. So let's go back to first floor and let's take a look at, let's modify type this one. Edit the type, this is B. And let's say that I've asked you to make wall type B with block instead of air. So CMU is what we're looking for. Let's see what they have for that. Concrete masonry unit, CMU right there. Okay. And let's say that it's 7 5/8 inches. That would be a legitimate thickness. And then what else do we want to do? Well, let's change this to rigid insulation. This is information I would give you, which I would expect you to duplicate. We're looking for anything with the word rigid in it. And yep, rigid insulation. And let's make that 4 inches thick. Okay, so now as we look at this, we've got CMU and rigid insulation. And on the outside of that, let's put stucco instead of gypsum wallboard. So let's see what we have for stucco. Do you have any materials for stucco, which is also EFIS? Well, you do have this in your template, so you can change it to that. We'll make the stucco sit right on top of the rigid insulation, and that looks good. We'll say okay to that. And okay to that. Now we've changed what wall type B is. Let's go back and look at the legend and see what happened. Wall type B changed. So what we're doing is we're setting up right now. It doesn't matter what these wall types are right now for your exam. you want to have this already made, and then as you create the actual assembly of the different wall types, this legend will change. So the last thing we want to do in our legend is we want to make it look a little bit nicer, where these should line up. The text should line up. It does. And maybe we want to just nudge this guy up a little bit, but these don't. So what should we do here? Well, can we put in a reference plane? Yes, we can. So we're going to just grab a reference plane and drag it across here. And then we'll click on this guy. And with the arrow keys, kind of move it down so it's closer to the, I'm going to zoom in a little closer. So when I hit the down arrow, I get a little bit more precision. And let's do the same thing here. And so this one, we want to go up. So I'll hit the up arrow. And maybe we'll zoom in a little closer. It doesn't line up, does it? So we'll click on this wall and let's just drag it straight across until it says I'm lined up. And let's see if maybe Revit will show us that it's lined up with this without the reference plane. By just raising this up. Oh, look at that. It does give us a guide there that says you're lined up there. So let's do the same thing with this one. Let's raise him up to there. I think we're in good shape now, except this text doesn't quite line up. This text does now, and you can see it's snapping to that, but this needs to go up now. Let's pull it up to there, and then we can, using the arrow keys again, and this one might want to go up a little bit too. And maybe this one wants to go down a bit. Okay. So let's save that. That's our starting to do our legend. We made these different wall types. All of the wall types can be the same to begin with for your setup for your midterm. So you would want to bring this information into your project to begin with. Now let's see what else we can do. Annotate detail line, maybe. Let's draw some lines around here so that this makes sense. We picked the wrong kind of line. So we'll click on it and we'll say, I just want a solid line. Give me a wide line. Okay. Now we're trying to put a border around here. So let's see what happens if we copy that from the bottom of this to the bottom of this to the bottom of this to the bottom of this, bottom of this, bottom of this. Okay. Now we've got some lines in there that, oh, we can get one more. We'll copy that. We'll copy this. From where? Bottom of this. Want to copy it from where? We're looking for the bottom of this to the bottom of this. All right, then we'll draw some more lines. Annotate detail line. Let's draw from there. And we'll do another detail line from here. We could leave it blank, leave a couple blank there. And then we'll draw another detail line from here, there. This line is still dashed, so we'll change it. We'll click on it. We don't want it to be an overhead. We want it to be wide lines. All right, and we could change the color of that, but this would be fine. And the reason we're making this is our legend number 2. We can change the name of that. But the final thing that you will be doing, which you cannot do yet because you don't know what goes into these wall components, is we want to material tag. So let's say that this was correct. We want it to tell us every single material that goes in this. So we'll click on this material here, that's air. And what's the next one? Now this one, your template is not going to say that. So we need to fix that in your template because Revit has a different name for that, and I don't know why. Okay, so what else do we want to do? One more material tag because we didn't get this last one. But notice how by just making sure that you put the arrow, oops, put the arrow right on the material, it will automatically call out what the material is. Now, let's go back to your wall type A. So we'll go over to here. This is wall type A. Let's edit the type to see what that is. That right now we're looking at softwood lumber. It's only 3.5 inches. So when we go up to the identity, we're going to change whatever it's called to 2x4 wood studs at 16 inches on center. I think your name will be different in your template. We can change it. So whatever your description of that material is, it will automatically label it. And we'll say okay to that, and okay to that. And now when we go back to our legend, it says, this is the new description of that material. So this you can't do yet because until you arrive at the midterm, you won't know what the material of these different walls are. And that's why you can make each one of these walls exactly the same, but duplicate them and rename them to that. And so when it comes time to actually make these walls, you'll be able to do that by editing the type. And then once you've edited the type, then you can come in and tell me what are the materials in that wall. And as you point to the materials, it will tell you exactly what that material is. You don't even have to type it. So that's a pretty nice feature. But that would be step 3 now. We have our legend, which will explain all of our different walls, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Or we could give it any other name that you want. But if we went to our stacked wall, which I think we made let's see if we have this stacked wall here. Let's take a look at that. In a section, we can say, all right, well, let's tag by category. Let's see what happens when we click on that. So these are different walls, but see, this will be 5, 4, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, you could clean that up later, but now you've got this in your drawings, and if this were whatever number that was, the contractor can now go to the legend and say, okay, well, that's basic wall A. What is it made up of? That's basic wall B. And what that does is it saves us from having to actually label all of these different materials in our drawings. We can just say these are the key notes or tags, and then the contractor can look at that and say, okay, I know wall number 3, for example, go to the legend, they would look for wall number 3 and say, okay, that's made up of whatever you label wall number 3 to be. Now, of course, That's not A, B, C, D, and E because you haven't made those yet. But that's the purpose of our legend, and that's how we're going to execute a portion of our midterm. So what I'd want to do is make sure that you have this all made up already. And then all you have to do is, well, what did Professor Bryce say wall type A was made up of? And then you can modify that. This is a legend. I don't think you can modify a legend. This doesn't add information to how much brick, for example, or how much 2x4 studs or gypsum wallboard. If you did a schedule that talked about areas of the materials, Revit does not count these. It will count the materials in your project, but not these. So these don't get added into it because it's, here's a couple of square feet of all of those materials. Okay, we don't want to count those, so Revit doesn't, because these are just information for the contractor, not for extracting materials. So that would be part 3 of setting up for the midterm.